Hey all, welcome to ShareTrack. This is Raj here. This is one more video on CRISPR Therapeutics. It's very nice to see today that after the Fed chairman's speech, things are looking better. As I mentioned earlier, Fed had signaled 2 rate cuts in 2024. Market was looking for 5 rate cuts, and now Fed has changed their language as well as mentioned possibility of 3 rate cuts. So the market is a bit exuberant at this point of time, in my opinion. And I'm also looking at the effect of the $5 trillion of option expiries that's supposed to happen with quadruple witching. So I'm not moving into the market right now. I was looking for selling a covered call on CRISPR, but I didn't get good enough premiums. So I have not entered at this point of time, but I have closed out my covered call, and my CRISPR shares are free and they are in profit. So that's the background. And the reason why I'm doing this extra video today is because there are a few points that were missed out. And I wanted to address one more point that a subscriber had mentioned in the comment section. So these are as follows. The first thing is a subscriber had mentioned that CRISPR Vertex have got a different conditioning system which is better. So I have been searching for it. I didn't find any mention of that. I'm going to actually go through the entire 7 or 8 step process of Casgevy implementation on a patient and what the patient should expect. It's talking about everything, including duration taken for apheresis and for manufacturing Casgevy and re-implementing and discharge, everything. So I'm going to talk about that. Second thing I'm going to talk about is that there's a 10% staff slashing by CRISPR Therapeutics in the last 5 or 6 days. So I'm going to talk about that and explain what it means for CRISPR Therapeutics. So that was the second item I wanted to include in here. And yeah, so those are the 2 main things that I'm going to talk about. I'll start with the financial things first, and then I'll go on to others. Of course, yeah, I also want to address one more thing, which is Vertex buying license from Editas for CRISPR-Cas9. Let's first start off with this press release, and this press release is coming from Editas, and it says Editas Medicine and Vertex Pharmaceuticals enter into non-exclusive license agreement for Cas9. This is dated December 13, 2023. So it was released this morning at around 9 a.m. and it says under the terms of the agreement, Vertex will obtain a non-exclusive license for Editas Medicine's Cas9 gene editing technology for ex vivo gene editing medicines targeting the BCL11A gene. So it is gene specific in the fields of sickle cell disease and beta thalassemia, including Casgevy. And this agreement extends Editas Medicine's cash runway into 2026. They have not given us details of what was the payment that was made. We'll find out very soon enough. Now, if you go back into CRISPR Therapeutics price chart, you will see CRISPR Therapeutics has bounced back sharply. Right now, it's negotiating 61.66, which is a resistance, and I'm confident it's going to go up from there. And even better than that, look at Editas. Editas has got a jump, and people are still evaluating this news. The news is percolating. So I'm pretty confident that once the news goes across, this is going to go up further. So now what has happened, in my opinion, is that the way the arrangement is between Vertex and CRISPR is that Vertex is going to do all the sales and everything, and they are going to provide 40% of the profits to CRISPR Therapeutics. So this becomes a very neat arrangement. I'll read more on this area and I'll come up with more updates as my understanding gets better. But right now, things are looking good in the CRISPR-Cas9 sector. And it's my belief that CRISPR-Cas9 is just version 1.0 of gene editing. We already have prime and base editing, and we have one more editing technology that is coming from a company called Tome, which has been launched by MIT. And I'm going to talk about that in a separate video. And they have an ability to put a huge chunk of DNA, replace a huge chunk of DNA without doing double strand cuts. So I'll talk about that in a separate video. But suffice to say, this kind of does the level field for removes the risk for CRISPR and Vertex with regard to litigation that I was talking about. That is gone, in my opinion, at this point of time. Now, that said, let's go to the next topic, which is the 10% layoff. CRISPR Therapeutics just slashed its staff by 10%. Should shareholders be worried? Now, this is an article which has been syndicated by Motley Fool, and if you want to see it in Motley Fool, you'll have to subscribe. Out here in nasdaq.com, it's a free article. This article may say something different from what I am saying. I just wanted to bring this here for the headlines. You can always Google and have a look at it. It's in NASDAQ. In my opinion, the 10% slashing of jobs is a very big positive for CRISPR Therapeutics. And generally, companies do this when one of their drugs is launched. I don't think this is done from a position of weakness. I see it more like CRISPR Therapeutics tightening its budgets because they have already got $1.9 billion of cash in their balance sheet. So they are nicely funded. They don't have any issues. And I think they are coming from a position of strength. This shows really good management, controlling costs before it is essential to do so. And this kind of a trimming should help. And there's been a lot of staff trimming across the industry. So I think they are becoming lean, mean, and aggressive. That's the way I would look at this. Well, friends, as they say, the devil is in the details. So I'm going to talk to you about how Casgevy is implemented. And this page provides a lot of details. How will I receive Casgevy? So the first step is before Casgevy treatment, a doctor will give you a mobilization medicine. And this mobilization medicine removes blood stem cells from the bone marrow and puts it into the bloodstream. And then there's this process of apheresis where they take out those and separate them out, and the entire process may happen more than once, and each time it may take up to 1 week. So this is an involved process. It's not like you go in and they extract blood through a syringe and then you go back and then you come and get it done. No, this is going to happen over a period of 1 week. During this step, rescue cells are collected and stored at the hospital. This is the insurance. Just like in a software deployment, we always have a rollback plan and we keep the old code safely somewhere so that in case the new code bombs, we can just reinstall the old code and we are back to business as usual. So this is like backing up the current source code, which is live, which is the gold source code. So during the step, rescue cells are collected and stored at the hospital. These are your existing blood stem cells and will be kept untreated just in case there is a problem in the treatment process. And if Casgevy cannot be given after the conditioning medicine, or if the modified blood stem cells do not take hold or engraft in the bone marrow, these rescue cells will be given back to you. If they are given back, then you will not have any treatment benefit from Casgevy because it was your original cells and it has been put back again without any modification. So the patient has to go through step 1, which will take several weeks, which includes keeping backup of the blood stem cells and extracting enough blood stem cells so that it can be processed to become Casgevy and reinserted into the patient. Step 2, after they are collected, your blood stem cells will be sent to the manufacturing site where they may be used to create Casgevy. It may take up to 6 months from the time your cells are collected to manufacture and test Casgevy before it is sent back to your healthcare provider. Guys, it's talking about 6 months. Okay, so it's not a slam dunk. So if we are visualizing around 1,000 patients treated every month, we are talking about 6,000 months worth of processing in order to finish that off. Of course, all this 6,000 is not going to go back to back. Many will go parallel. But we are looking at a manufacturing capability which has to be able to process many of these patients in parallel. So I think manufacturing cost is another issue that I would be thinking about. I want feedback from our community. Put your feedback in the comment section. What do you think about the manufacturing cost? What do you think about the cash turnover, knowing that it may take up to 6 months from the time the cells are collected in order to manufacture Casgevy and send it back. And before that, it is going to take multiple weeks to collect the cells. Okay, so we are looking at around 7 months approximately as the turnaround time after a patient is selected and the patient starts giving the blood cells. And then we come to step 3, which is also daunting. Shortly before your stem cell transplant, your healthcare provider will give you a conditioning medicine for a few days in hospital. This will prepare you for treatment by clearing cells from the bone marrow, and so they can be replaced with the modified cells in Casgevy. After you're given this medicine, your blood cell levels will fall to very low levels. You'll stay in the hospital for this step and remain in the hospital until after infusion with Casgevy. So we don't know how long it's going to take for this conditioning to take place. It's saying here for a few days in the hospital, you will have to the healthcare provider will give you conditioning medicine for a few days in the hospital. So post-conditioning, how long they will have to stay there is subjective, I think, based on the condition of the patient. Some may probably have to remain there for a longer period of time because they won't have any blood cells being created. Next, step 4. One or more vials of Casgevy will be given into the veins over a short period of time. After Casgevy infusion, you will stay in hospital so that your healthcare provider can closely monitor your recovery. This can take 4 to 6 weeks, but times can vary. Your healthcare provider will decide when you are ready to go home. So 4 to 6 weeks afterwards in hospital. And what should I avoid after receiving Casgevy? That means none of these people can donate blood, organs, tissues, or cells at any time in the future. I don't think that's a big deal. That is good enough for most people. What are the possible or reasonably likely side effects of Casgevy? So low levels of platelet cells, which may reduce the ability of blood to clot and may cause bleeding. Low levels of white blood cells, which may make you more susceptible to infection. Your healthcare provider will test your blood to check for low levels of blood cells. Tell your healthcare provider right away if you get any of the following symptoms, which is fevers, chills, infection, severe headache, abdominal bruising, prolonged bleeding, bleeding without injury such as nosebleeds, bleeding from gums, blood in your urine, stool or vomit, or coughing up blood. These are not all possible side effects of Casgevy. Call your doctor for medical advice about side effects, etc., etc. And you can also report to FDA. Now, friends, when I look at this, it may seem daunting, but it's just like when you sign a mortgage application, there is a whole lot of clauses out there and nothing is negotiable, and this is how things are. But we just sign our mortgage agreement and we are fine. I'm not saying sickle cell disease treatment is like signing a mortgage application, but the side effects and other things that are mentioned, it's a catch-all. It may not happen for everybody, but even if it happens for one person, all those things have to be mentioned out there, and there's ongoing monitoring. So this is how it looks like. So this gives us a better idea of what kind of money may come in. So, and the way I understand the whole process is that it's going to take around 3 weeks to do the apheresis and collect all the cells and keep a backup, which is a very smart idea. And then in order to create Casgevy, it's going to take them 6 months. So 3 weeks plus 6 months. So we are already at 3 weeks, 6 months, and interjob, you can say 1 week before and 1 week afterwards. So that's around almost 7 months we are looking at right away off the bat. And then they have to go for the conditioning regimen, which may take probably a week. So that's 1 more week added to it. And then the patient may have to stay in the hospital after the infusion for at least 4 to 6 weeks, depending on their condition. So all put together, this is a very involved process. And I'm starting to think that if this kind of a process is possible for sickle cell disease, then probably for HIV also they should start looking at bone marrow with CCR5 suppression and CD4 modification and things like that. Because so far we have been thinking of bone marrow transplant as being very invasive and we should not use it very often. But now out here, we are looking at how invasive and how difficult it's going to be. And it's come into the mainstream right now. The only reason why this is really good is because Casgevy is going to give good quality of blood cells. Well, friends, then I'm thinking that if bone marrow transplant is going to be the new norm, and hospitals and patients are going to be geared up to handle that the way it is right now, and it's only going to improve going forward, with better conditioning agents and all that. I'm thinking that probably HIV also will get treated very quickly, and we would have bone marrow transplants, and probably CD4 T cells from the patients could be modified with CCR5 suppression, and things could be done in a different manner. So that said, coming back to CRISPR Therapeutics, I think overall it's starting to look good. And we also have Editas coming up, which is something that I wanted to talk about. Editas is also rushing very fast, and they have released the data. You would have seen my earlier video about how Editas tries to manage Edit 301, and it has got an elegant approach as well, and they are targeting a different set of cells. I think it was HGB1 and HGB2. So that's going to be also available, and it will compete with CRISPR and Vertex, and I am sure. And because they are getting all these patent revenues and all, they might be able to price it more aggressively in order to capture the market. And as far as Bluebird Bio is concerned, there is a little bit of life coming back into the stock. It is still sub $3, but there are people who are thinking that the company is still viable. It may be taken over by somebody, or I suppose that they are all bracing for equity dilution and still find value in Bluebird after equity dilution. As far as I remember, they do not have any more items in their pipeline. So they have got these 4 gene medicines, Zynteglo, Skysona, and Lovocell for SCD and TDT. And it's a very narrow portfolio. So unless they have more candidates in their pipeline and they have money to continue their research, I don't think Bluebird is looking as good. We'll wait and see how what press releases they come up with and what their future plans are, and then we can get more optimistic about Bluebird. But right now, the way things stand, CRISPR is looking good, Vertex is looking good, Editas is looking good, Bluebird not that great. So with that, my friends, I'd like to bring this video to an end, and I'm inviting most of you who have an idea of what's happening in the industry to comment on what you think about this duration for the treatment and the details of the treatment that you have seen. I'll try to get similar information about Bluebird Bio's therapy as well. We don't have that information for Edit 301. So it will take some time for us to get all those information to make a like-to-like comparison. And I couldn't find anywhere any press release or anything that would suggest that CRISPR Therapeutics has got a better conditioning regimen. It's the busulfan as far as I remember, and it's the same thing that's going to be used by Edit 301. So that's where I would like to leave this video. Thanks and have a great day. Bye for now. Please don't forget to press a like out there to help the channel. Thanks and have a great day. See you later.